In this video, we're looking at the probability, which will be 17, 18, and 19. I think the first one's the most difficult because we're looking at tossing a coin 3 times. So we have to think about what that sample space would look like. So I'm going to see if I can draw this kind of over to the side. Okay, so let's just say we have our first coin flip. We know when we flip a coin, there's 2 possible outcomes. You can get heads or you can get tails. So this represents the first toss. Now, just say we got heads the first time, then when we toss the second time, we can get heads or tails. But it's also true that if we got tails the first time, when we flip the second time, we could get heads or tails. So this branch with the 4 pieces, that represents our second toss. So then we continue this for the third toss, heads or tails. Okay, so we're going to do this for each of these. And then I like to go ahead and write out my sample space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow my branch. I'm going to start with the top one. Okay, so that would be heads, heads, heads. Okay, so I'm going to erase that before I write it down. All right, so that one would be, oh, just kidding. Okay, heads, heads, heads. That's considered one outcome. So I'm going to follow my next possibility. That would be heads, heads, tails. Okay, so I'm basically going to go down this list. Let me erase these real quick. So I did that one. I keep doing that, sorry. I did that one. Now I'm looking at this one. So that one would be heads, heads, tails. So when I get to the third line, that one would be heads, tails, heads. And then when I get to the fourth one, that would be heads, tails, tails. Okay, so just trying to give you a visual of what I'm looking at. And I keep doing that, sorry. Okay, so heads, tails, tails. All right, so now I'm down to the bottom half. So now I'm looking at this one next. Okay, so that would be tails, heads, heads. That takes care of that one. If I move down to this one, that one's going to be tails, heads, tails. Oh, that one disappeared. When I get to this one, that's going to be tails, tails, heads. And then the bottom one will be tails, tails, tails. All right, so this is my sample space. Notice it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 outcomes. So when I do these probabilities, I'm always going to be going out of my 8 outcomes. So the probability of getting exactly 2 heads, that would be either this one, or this one. That's everything on my list. Let me go highlight those. That one, and that one. Those are the only ones that have exactly 2 heads. So that would be 3 out of 8. Now the probability of getting all heads, that only happens once right here, so that one would be 1 out of 8. Alright, so that one's the hardest because you do have to build the sample space. Let's look at 18. If you took all the letters of contemporary mathematics, so let's say you took this whole thing, you chopped it all up, and then you threw the separate letters into a hat, what's the probability that you draw a T? So first you have to count all the letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So there's 23 letters altogether. And we can see that, let's see how many of them are T's. There's a T there, a T there, and a T there. So 3 of them are T's. So the probability of drawing a T would be 3 out of 23. All right, so for 19, kind of the same idea. Let's start by figuring out how many marbles we have. We have 11, 10, 8, 15, and 4. So I'm going to add those together real quick. And that comes out to be 48. All right, so that's going to be my denominator. So for the first question, the probability of drawing a blue marble, there's 10 blue, so 10 out of 48. Or if you reduce that, it would be 5 out of 24. All right, so chances of getting a red marble would be 11 out of 48, since there's 11 red, and that one doesn't reduce. Now, then we have blue or pink. So remember, there's 10 blue, and there's 4 pink, so that would be 14 out of 48, or you could write that as 7 out of 24. The last one is purple or green, so let's see, there are 8 purple, and there are 15 green. So 8 plus, 8 and 15, that would give me 23. So the chances of drawing a purple or a green would be 23 out of 48, and that one does not reduce.